What's up, YouTube? Back at you with another video, another quick take. I got my main man, my partner, my brother here.
We are back for the smoke. The Prince of Fresh Air. Thanks for having me, man.
Now, this is a situation that I've caught wind of within the last week and a half or so. And the more and more that I've been hearing about things going on over in Eastern Palestine, Ohio, the more that I've gotten kind of pissed off because this is a third world country and what's going on over there shouldn't really be happening. Or at least, sure, things happen, but there should be some sort of response equivalent to what the United States has been doing. We've got an article courtesy of NPR.org, which says a train carrying hazardous substances derailed earlier this month in eastern Ohio, likely due to mechanical issues. So the article says on February 3rd, just before 9 p.m., a Norfolk Southern train derailed near East Palestine, Ohio, a town of about 4,800 people near the border with Pennsylvania. Nobody was hurt in the accident, officials say. Most of the train's 150 rail cars were carrying cargo that was not hazardous, officials say, such as cement, steel, and frozen vegetables, according to a manifest of the derailed cars provided to the EPA, which is the Environmental Protection Agency. But 20 cars contained hazardous materials, according to an update this week from the National Transportation Safety Board, who is investigating the derailment. It says surveillance video from a home near the crash site recorded what appears to be a wheel bearing in the final stage of overheat failure moments before the derailment, investigators said this week. 5 of the derailed cars were carrying vinyl chloride, a man-made substance that is a key ingredient in PVC, the hard plastic resin used widely in construction and healthcare. At room temperature, vinyl chloride is a sweet-smelling, colorless gas. It is typically transported in the form of a compressed liquid. Inhalation of vinyl chloride can cause respiratory symptoms like shortness of breath, along with neurological symptoms like headaches and dizziness. Chronic exposure to high levels of vinyl chloride has been associated with liver damage and cancer, according to the CDC. It says this week, the EPA released a partial Norfolk Southern manifest that detailed other hazardous chemicals on the train, which included ethylene glycol, monobutyl ether. What the heck? Ethylexyl acrylate and isobutylene. All can cause irritation or neurological symptoms like dizziness and headaches. One tank car lost its entire load of butyl acrylate, a clear liquid used to make paint, adhesives, and caulk. The New Jersey Department of Health warns that exposure to butyl acrylate can cause headache, dizziness, nausea, and irritation to the nose, throat, and lungs. All right. Now, with all that said, all of these hazardous materials were combusted in an explosion that was released into the air. So you have air contamination, water contamination, and from the looks of it, little to nothing has really been done in response to things that are happening to United States citizens. And the common theme that I've heard every single time I've seen an article, news segment, or, let's say people tweeting about it, is that not enough people are talking about this. And what's funny is that when I called you, you didn't even hear about it either. So given everything that I just read, what are your thoughts on that, bro?
You know what's crazy? After I did my research, after you told me about this topic, I said I'm surprised I haven't heard about it. I've been on Twitter all week, and then as soon as I'm reading about the one in Ohio, apparently there was another train derailment today in Detroit, Michigan. Same thing. A bunch of train cars turned over, some with hazardous material. Um, yo, I don't know what's going on, man, with these damn balloons flying in the sky nobody knows about, the trains being derailed with hazardous materials. They combust and stuff. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't know what's going on, but something is happening, and there's no reason that two major train derailments in the span of 2 weeks should be happening to this proportion. There was just a whole thing. I was just reading about too, a power plant in in Ohio was set ablaze, and I'm talking about a power plant that covers like at least 10 blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Was set on fire. All the chemicals in the air was released into the air. I don't know what's happening. I don't know how this stuff is not being told to people because this
Mhm.
is hazardous. People could die from this. And
Right.
I'm flabbergasted. I'm curious. What do you think?
Well, here's the thing. When you hear the complaints about people who are residents of that area, and when they're saying that there's no communication between, the town, the citizens, and the EPA, and especially the company that was responsible for what happened, Northern, what was it? What was it called? Norfolk. Yeah, so Norfolk Southern, they were responsible for this. Like, this was their fault. And during a town meeting, they didn't even show up. So when you had police, firefighters, and then the mayor, and obviously people who are like officials and stuff like that, speaking and answering questions to the citizens, the company responsible didn't show up. And apparently it's because they were afraid of their safety or some shit. So they didn't show, because clearly it's their fault. Now, I put myself in their shoes because I have, just again, empathy for my fellow man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at, like, this could have easily happened, anywhere else. And I would hate to be in their position. And then yet everybody is too busy talking about UFOs and Chinese balloons and freaking, stupid, like, freaking, let's say, like, Rihanna's a Super Bowl performance and Quavo and Offset's, beef in personal issues. And then they're not actually talking about what's really going on in the country right now. And I've said it many times, and I'll say it again. Me having a YouTube channel is not only to, like, be like entertaining and to obviously have that sort of, appeal about my channel, but it's also to talk about the things that matter. So in addition to, again, the entertainment that you're getting information, you're being informed about what's really going on. Because again, I'm pretty sure you're not the only one that hasn't really caught wind about what's been happening. And it's important because a lot of times people think, oh, it ain't happening in my town, so it's happening to them, so too bad, so sad. No, that's not cool, because it could just as easily have been you. People are walking outside and then they're experiencing shortness of breath, headaches, dizziness. Why? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is their home. Like, they live there. And I look at it like, not everybody, not every family has the finances just to say, okay, we're just going to evacuate our homes and then go elsewhere. Like, that's where they live.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I remember years ago when Texas had that really bad blizzard. I don't know if you remember this. I don't remember what year it was. I think it might have been like 2019, maybe 2018, around there, around that time period. I remember it was so bad. Like, it basically, the conditions in that, like, in Texas around that time was just unlivable. Like, it was just that bad. Right. And not everybody had the funds to just go pack up and leave. I remember my favorite boxer, they went to like the Bahamas or some shit because he lived in Texas. So he just left and then, just come back, and then he had the money to just pay for the damages, when he got back. So whenever it was over is when he would come back. But everybody else, they had to stay in their houses with no water, no electricity, and like freaking below zero temperatures. So it's the same, extremity that's going on in Palestine, Ohio. And I think it's not cool, especially when, again, if this was happening anywhere else in a foreign country, the United States is going to jump up and, and just come to their rescue. Because I have an article that says in 2022, the Biden administration and the U.S. Congress have directed nearly $50 billion in assistance to Ukraine, which includes humanitarian, financial, and military support. Bruh, like, so where is all of that energy for people right here in this country? Whether they're black or white or not. Like, again, because I'd be like, yo, this could have happened here. We got trains, out here. So what if they were moving trains with hazardous materials through my area, and then the shit crashed? And then, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't have, money to just say, all right, cool, I'm going to just go, to Florida. I'm going to go to Miami somewhere. I don't have that. So needless to say, if I'm at the mercy of whatever dangerous, extreme circumstances that are happening, and then for the government that we as citizens pay taxes to every goddamn day don't step up and do something, where is the emergency aid for them? So that's where I'm at right now. And it's just like, people are so head over heels, again, about the Super Bowl and UFOs and stuff like that, when every single time you have these weird occurrences or these like celebrity like topics in the news that's just been, floating all over the place, like Rihanna's new pregnancy announcement, I always ask myself, I'm like, what's really going on in the world right now? You know what I'm saying? And then to make it worse, I saw a TikTok video, and it was a girl who lives in Ohio, and she was saying like, yo, whatever it is that they're saying in the news, it's not even like, it doesn't even begin to explain or cover how bad it is out there. And then
Right.
she was showing running water, and I'm talking about, this is like black ass water, and as the water is accumulating, you're seeing like these like bubble like substances that are just accumulating on like the outer circle of the bowl that the water is going into. And I'm like, yo, this is a first world country. And I'm not saying I'm some isolationist or none of that, but I have to make sure, if I'm in charge, if I'm an elected official, I have to make sure, especially a federal elected official, I have to make sure that things are good in my country first before I can even worry about what's going on out there. And things are still going on in the Ukraine right now. So take care of people in your own country first, because there should already be like a go-to emergency response for things that happen like that. Because the thing is, and mind you, that big ass dark cloud in the sky, that shit looked like the UFO. For
No, that's
real.
a fact.
Yeah, like you seen it. Yeah, like it looked like the big black ass big black ass cloud from Independence Day. It looked like a freaking, UFO is gonna emerge out of that shit at any given time. That's how bad it is. And you got people like that live like right there. I'm talking about like the train crashed, and you got people who live literally like a couple of yards away, and it's happening right there. Someone said in one of the articles that the train passing by would, like, it used to be like a comforting noise for them. You know what I'm saying? Like they're just used to hearing it all the time. It's just like a part of the normalcy of their neighborhood. Now, every time they probably ever hear a train ever again, they're going to be scared. And that
Right.
should not be happening. Again, things happen, but the response should be boom, bam, go to. Is Biden talking about that? Like, did he come out and say that? And then apparently I heard that people are trying to blame Trump for this.
Yep. It never fails to amaze me. Like, I'm not trying to make this political, but Biden's still talking about how he's sending military to shoot down these Chinese balloons that's turning out to be weather balloons, and I'm like, I agree with you. There's a YouTube out there who Hassan Campbell, who talks about stuff like this, where he's like, yo, don't y'all notice anytime something catastrophic happen, there's a major distraction.
Yep.
Rihanna, Super Bowl's performance, how she didn't get paid for the Super Bowl, how she's pregnant. It's like, I'm actually shocked. I didn't even know about this thing, and it's crazy because I just found out. Now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't even know about Tyree Nichols until when we did the quick take a week or two ago, and he passed away a month ago. So it's like, for me, a lot of this stuff is. I agree. I do think our government cares more about trying to help other countries than our own people. It's been a time and time again we've seen that. They're sending all of our money. We paying all these taxes for them to send people to other countries while people dying here, people are struggling here. And what's happening? That big old cloud, I saw a picture of it. Awful. I've seen buildings burning. I've seen how big that thick cloud of smoke gets. But that I don't even know. I don't even know what I would do if I saw that big old thing in the sky like that.
But mind you, not only is it a cloud, but it's a cloud comprised of toxic fumes.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So imagine you go outside, you see that big ass shit, and then you're overcome with symptoms like dizziness, headaches, shortness of breath. You're gonna be like, yo, what's going on here?
And what's crazy? Someone was saying that I was doing my research, and I think a couple days later, after they combusted the gas, EPA, I think the Environmental Protection Agency or whatever, came out and said the air is clean.
Cap.
So no, it's cat. And what's funny? Someone made a good point. They said, people said the exact same thing about 9/11. All that dust that when the buildings went down, the air was clean after a couple days. No, it wasn't, because people were still dying 3 weeks after. It's because that stuff lingers in. It's a mess, and my condolences go out to. Well, I don't think anybody's seriously hospitalized or dead, so that's good. But I mean, people
Still, you don't know.
careful.
We don't know what exposure, long-term exposure, even short-term or long-term exposure to like these said chemicals that I mentioned in the beginning. like the effect that it'll have on people. Like you don't know. Like this not just like, when you spray, I don't know, like Pine Sol or freaking Clorox or Windex, you know what I'm saying? Like that's nothing. Like these are real like toxic chemicals that were burned into the air and lingering there for an extended period of time.
Yeah, that's wild. I don't know. The crazy part is, like you said, I mean, look at all the people from 9/11. Not all of them show symptoms immediately. A lot of them took many years for it to show up. And the sad part about it is this is not nearly as covered as the 9/11. And I'm seeing, the reason why I mentioned conspiracy theories, because a lot of people talking about, it's not ironic that something's always major happening and that news seem not to cover it unless there's an agenda behind it. I mean, how did people not know about this? How do people not know about the second train derailment that just happened in Detroit, Michigan? Mm-hmm. I mean, how do people not know about this? Something's going on. I don't know what's going on. I ain't going to call out nobody, but how is it these things are going on and very few people don't know about it? But Rihanna's trending on Twitter since the Super Bowl. I mean,
because it's a distraction, and this is something that the company Norfolk, I hate that word, Norfolk Southern. The president and chief executive said in a statement, he said, "We will be judged by our actions." He said, "We are cleaning up the site in an environmentally responsible way, reimbursing residents affected by the derailment and working with members of the community to identify what is needed to help East Palestine recover and thrive." Now, here's the thing, because the town of Palestine, they're going to make them pay for that. So everything like that in terms of, repairing and rebuilding that whole area, it has to come out of their pockets. And then what's funny is if they don't pay up, then they're going to be subject to legal action. And the article says, but this did little to assuage the town's anger and frustration. Someone said, "I just don't want to be diagnosed with cancer or something 10, 15 years down the line because of their mistake," said Therese Vigilati, who was 47, who was outdoors the night that the chemicals were burned, and said that her tongue still feels scalded and that she had seen blood in her stool 2 days later. So see what I'm saying? Like, yo, you don't know what these things are going to do. And then this just goes to show that they got to go back to the drawing board on how swiftly they respond to these sorts of things. It says in a public letter, Governor Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, a Democrat, denounced Norfolk Southern for its poor handling of the derailment, charging that prioritizing an accelerated and arbitrary timeline to reopen the rail line injected unnecessary risk and created confusion in the process. So it's just like, mishandling and negligence on all sides of the spectrum, and really not taking, the health of the people, of the local citizens into account. Because again, I just put myself in their shoes, and I would hate for me to be looking out the window, there's some black ass cloud and I can't go outside because, I might be exposed to something that'll compromise my health.
Right. And, like you said, I sympathize with that. I have asthma. If I was in that situation, bro, I better pay for every moving expense, every, the new apartment I got to get outside of the state. Because the part about this too, where the accident happened, there's going to be people in Pennsylvania affected by it. But because people know that this is a Ohio-based train service and that happened on the side of Ohio, people aren't going to consider the fact that gas, that big old black cloud of dangerous gas, is going to spread. So yeah, the people immediately nearby are going to be affected. And this is how my thing is: how does the environmentalists say the air is going to be clean already? Like how do you even say that?
They trying to kill people, because it's just like, oh, that's like if you say, like, how some people, like, you'll get a cut or some shit, they're like, oh yeah, you'll be fine, and instead of like giving you a band-aid and tending to the cut that you got, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, don't worry about it, you'll be okay. It's like that. They'll be like, you'll be all right, it's okay, go drink the water. That's essentially, to me, that's what that means.
Right. But in this situation, there's more than just this, like a freaking gash. I mean, this is horrible. This is horrible. Like you said, I really hope, I'm curious to see what the payouts and the compensation is going to be, because if it's only just 1 month's rent that people, that's not going to suffice. Because some people, if they haven't already, are going to experience medical attention or need medical attention. They're going to have severe consequences to their health because of this. Even the workers too. I feel bad for the workers because they're going to have to go through, a lot of the people going there to clean up this mess. And the people who had to, combust all that gas, they're going to be affected by it too. Mm-hmm. The problem is, like you said, who's paying for it? not the government. They're gonna be looking at you like, you better hand up a little more of your paycheck so we could disperse this. And it's not right. It's not right. People are getting free handouts and many other instances, but the people in this part of this country, they're gonna suffer because. And someone made a good point. This is a small town, a white urban area. I ain't trying to make this a racist thing, but they said the reason why this didn't make the news because they can't blame a white person for putting black people's lives in danger. There's just a little small white community in the middle of Ohio that nobody knows about. So the media don't give a damn. It's not big of a story for them to drum up a narrative.
So get this. It says a controlled burn, and this article is courtesy of Newsweek.com. It says a controlled burn of the train cars involved in the East Palestine, Ohio train derailment on February 3rd has some people concerned about the release of the toxic chemicals in the air. So the Norfolk Southern Railway train was transporting many toxic chemicals, so officials decided, get this, the officials decided to conduct a controlled burn of the cars a few days after the derailment to release the chemicals under controlled conditions and to prevent an explosion, which would have sent shrapnel flying into residential areas and potentially released toxic chemicals in an uncontrolled way. However, 5 of the cars contained vinyl chloride, like I mentioned earlier, which becomes hydrogen chloride and phosgene when burned. Phosgene is a deadly gas that was used in chemical warfare during World War I. Ohio residents within the area of the controlled burn were urged to evacuate or risk death. So they're doing shit that is almost like to try to make the situation better, but then it's making things worse. Now, Kimberly Garrett, an environmental toxicologist from Northeastern University, told Newsweek that phosgene is likely the chemical that officials were most worried about, which is, again, would be the result of the controlled explosion that they tried to do to avoid a worse situation. It says it disrupts the interaction between the lungs and the bloodstream, Garrett said. It makes it so oxygen can't get into the blood and carbon dioxide can't get out. When hydrogen chloride dissolves in water, it becomes hydrochloric acid. So now water can possibly be hydrochloric acid. Yo.
It's nuts, man. It's nuts. And like I was telling you earlier, there was a derailment
real quick, sorry. Entrepreneur Nick Drambosky explained in a viral TikTok video what happens when vinyl chloride burns. He said that officials are deeming the controlled burn a success, but that they aren't mentioning all the acid that is now in the atmosphere as a result of said freaking controlled explosion.
Right. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised they're keeping us quiet. Why? Because if they announce what happened, it's going to spread fear and it's going to cause people to panic. They don't want people to panic. They want people to be distracted, which is why people still talking about Rihanna. How many days later? I mean, it's nuts. And you know what the crazy part is? You have this situation in Ohio, then you had just the thing that just happened in Detroit, Michigan, with another train derailment, carrying hazardous material. Now you got this thing that happened a couple hours after the derailment in Detroit, where in Kissimmee, Florida, a massive 5-acre fire was broken out in a warehouse storing plastic plant pots, and now they're telling residents with breathing issues or any history with breathing, don't leave your apartment, stay inside, don't come out at all. But when you look at the video and the images, this is horrible. All that gas, all that smoke, all that plastic stuff flying in the air. And this is serious stuff. And people might say, oh, I don't live there. It don't bother me. Well, how do you know that? That stuff is traveling in the air. People.
For listeners out there, it could have easily been you in that situation. Things happen anywhere at any time. And then the thing is, us as a people, we have to have empathy for each other because the government is not going to have that at the end of the day, because there is that distance between elected officials, law enforcement, so on and so forth, to the average, person, law-abiding, tax-paying citizen.
Right. And let me just say this. This is what happens. I was watching a video about this, about Border Patrol and all that stuff, and this is the exact same issue they've talked about. everything's become politicized. Why is it political to address something like this to the people? Why is this being withheld? Because it seems to me, unless something has a narrative someone's trying to push, or this a way people could spin the story to make it more catchy, or get people's attention, they don't care. And this is what happens when people, like you said, they blame Trump. How long Trump has been going out of office? I mean, come on. It's like, yeah, doing all of this finger pointing at each other. Let's try to help solve the solution. Let's try to help the people affected in these areas by this stuff. No, everything's political. Oh, you're a Democrat. Oh, it's your fault. Oh, you're a Republican. Get out of here. You did this. It's like, come on, man. Like, the fact that it's not even on the news. I gotta scroll through the bottom of Twitter to find it. But I can guarantee you right now, if I go to trending, Rihanna's still number one.
Right,
I'm not
right.
surprised.
And to add on to that, it says, if vinyl chloride were to get into the water supply, long-term effects were probable, and that knowledge likely influenced officials to conduct the burn before that can happen. Vinyl chloride is a known carcinogen linked to liver cancer. Garrett explained that once in the waterways, vinyl chloride is extremely difficult to clean out. But then again, like I said, they're not saying that, but old girl on TikTok or wherever I saw that video was showing the water, and some shit was in that water to me. something was
Right.
definitely up in that water.
Yep.
That was like, where was that? Was it Flint, Michigan? And they had that water
Flint,
problem
Michigan.
for how long? For how long? But the United States has all $50 billion for a foreign country. But where was that money for Flint, Michigan? You see what I'm saying? Like, I remember Jaden Smith was like using his celebrity and his status to try to help them out, like establishing like clean water towers and stuff.
Right.
Where is that, again, that mentality and aid grand scale, especially for the people who actually have the means to do it? Jaden Smith is just a celebrity, and the other celebrities who are providing clean water there. We got $50 billion. Do something for your own people first before you do something elsewhere and get involved in other people's affairs.
Yeah, you're right. How many you think China's gonna let their own people? Nah, you think any other country is gonna let their people suffer before they help somebody else? Like, I say this all the time. How can you help other people when your own household isn't taken care of?
And even
If your
taking care
children,
of.
if your children are starving, you're going to give your neighbor the rest of your paycheck so they can go to Florida? No, that's not how it works. But like you said, it's a politics game, and that's the problem. Everything is too politicized. There shouldn't be no political agenda to taking care of your people. But we see this time and time again. Republicans, it's Democrats, this, Democrats, is Republican, that. Everybody's pointing fingers, everybody looking like Spider-Man and that meme pointing at each other. And the solution's right there. All you gotta do is look down and hold hands and get to work. But like I said, man, it's unfortunate. I hope everybody don't suffer any severe physical, mental, emotional consequences from this stuff. But it goes to show, unless it's political, people don't give a damn.
And I just wanted to bring up one last article, which Senator, courtesy of FoxNews.com, Senator J.D. Vance, during a visit to East Palestine on Thursday, challenged President Biden's administration to stop blaming Donald Trump following the train derailment disaster. He says, I haven't spoken to President Biden. My message to him is pretty simple. One, the Department of Transportation, your Department of Transportation, has things they can do. Stop blaming Donald Trump, a guy who hasn't been president for 3 years, and use the powers of the federal government to do things necessary to help the people in this community, Vance said, responding to a question by Fox News correspondent Lucas Tomlinson. Department of Transportation Secretary Pete, I'm not even going to mention his last name, waited 10 days before addressing the derailment of a Norfolk Southern freight train hauling vinyl chloride and various other hazardous chemicals in East Palestine, located near the Pennsylvania border. What? Yeah, I'm not even going to mention his last name. So this same guy punted blame to Trump, writing, we're constrained by law on some areas of rail regulation, like the braking rule withdrawn by the Trump administration in 2018 because of a law passed by Congress in 2015. But we are using the powers we do have to keep people safe. It's just funny that people use Donald Trump to like scapegoat, all their mistakes and the things that they do or don't do.
Right. Like I said, this is part of America's problem. It's like, God, especially ever since he left office. Granted, You don't gotta like the guy. That's by all means. I don't care if you like him or not, right? 3 years later, really, you still got the cojones to still blame this man, and this is what happens when politics become the prime driven force of America. Biden hasn't done a damn thing since he's been in office. Most people agree, even people who voted for him. He hasn't done nothing. I
No.
mean, it's nuts. And what is going to happen with all of these incidents?
And
You know,
he hasn't yet even held, a press event to even say anything about what's going on in Ohio.
no,
And
he's still talking about.
the senator said, the second thing I'd say, a lot of this is about leadership and just being available to people and making them realize, look, the biggest concern for the people of East Palestine is that they're going to be forgotten in a week, Vance said. When the cameras disappear and the politicians are no longer around, are there still going to be people who are focused on them? I think the president could do a lot. Just standing in the White House press room for 30 seconds and saying, people of East Palestine, I see you. We're not going to forget about you. I think that's an important signal for the president to send. And shortly before, Senator Sherrod Brown and U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, Administrator Michael Reagan were expected to give remarks at the derailment site. Blah, 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 blah. She says, I think if the EPA administrator wants to stand here and tell people that the tap water is safe, by all means, they should be willing to drink it. And that's a fact. That's a fact.
Yeah, yeah. This is what happens. A lot of people and these high powers, they don't live the reality of real Americans, and that's one of the reasons why they don't really have the best interest of us at heart. Now, like you said, where has Biden been? He's still talking about balloons. Why is that still a thing? I'm seeing bills getting passed where government employees get bonuses and raises, and they deserve to get wages increased. Like, people don't realize the fact that there's much more at stake than giving your buddy who works in Congress another $25,000 G bonus. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, but here's the thing with Joe Biden, though. First of all, Joe Biden is 80 years old. Okay, he's older than the oldest person I know. Okay, and at that point, you're barely even coherent to even really understand what's going on. And my man can't even read from the teleprompters, correctly. And I've seen him screw up and babble his words, slurred speech, incoherence multiple times over. So again, it's like I just can't wait for this dude to get out of there. But the point of this quick take anyway is to really get people to really zero in and lock in on the things that are really going on that are affecting this country and could potentially affect you and show up at your front doorstep. There's a lot more that's going on in the news than Rihanna's freaking pregnancy, Cardi B and Offset, freaking balloon
McDonald's meal.
yeah, right, exactly. That little McDonald's meal that I see like all the time now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much more that's going on, and people really need to wake up and lock in. So what are your thoughts? Please be sure again to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.
Peace.